It's time for a Drafthouse Diary on the road. On Tuesday, March 21st, 2023, I found myself in New York City with some time to kill. So I went to downtown Brooklyn to the Alamo Drafthouse to see Constantine. Because this is a special on the road edition of the Drafthouse Diary, I'm going to do things in a different order than usual. The movie review itself is going to be at the end. So I'll add a time code here if you want to jump straight to that. But before that, let's talk about the theater. I had never been to this Alamo Drafthouse before, and it's in a place called City Point, which is a mixed-use development in the area called downtown Brooklyn. It's kind of a multi-story mall, and way up top is where you find the Alamo Drafthouse. Inside, it's a really fun arrangement. They've got a big lobby area, which I think is a little bit underused. Maybe they're in the process of some kind of conversion or reconfiguring of what they're doing there. There's some parts of it that have the Alamo's Video Vortex branding. There's a fun little photo op spot that lets you take a vintage King Kong style photo at the top of the Empire State Building. And also on that level where you enter is the House of Wax, which is the bar attached to this Alamo. It's a very kind of creepy goth sort of vibe, and they've got rows and rows of display cases of wax death masks and the like. It's creepy in all the right ways, and I could definitely see it being a fun place to hang out. I could see it being a fun place to get together and play a role-playing game or something as well. The theater auditoriums themselves are up an escalator, and there's sort of that House of Wax sort of goth-style theming throughout, but there's also a great deal of variety, especially when you look at the posters. A lot of spy movies, some science fiction movies. They had a theatrical poster for the movie Journey to the Far Side of the Sun, also known as Doppelganger, a rare Jerry Anderson live-action movie. I love that movie, and so few people even know about it. It was a delight to see a poster for it in this theater. The theaters themselves, they were a typical Alamo Drafthouse theater. They were more like what I am accustomed to for an Alamo Drafthouse than, for example, the very different experience I had in San Antonio a month or two earlier. It was very comfortable. The screening quality was quite good. I wouldn't hesitate to go back to this Alamo. I enjoyed it. Although, next time I'm in New York, I might try out one of the other New York City locations. Regarding the food at the downtown Brooklyn Alamo, I really don't have anything to tell you. Because one thing I did not do was get my dinner at the Alamo Drafthouse. I'm in New York City, and right there at City Point is the DeKalb Market Food Hall, which is kind of a big food court. And nothing against the Alamo, but I knew I would have more and better options at DeKalb Market Food Hall. In fact, before I ever got there, I knew exactly what I was going to get, because one of the places at this food hall was A Taste of Cats. That's cats as in Katz's Deli. So yeah, I'm going to get some New York deli. And then my heart was broken because it turns out for some reason, A Taste of Cats closed an hour earlier than their posted closing time. They closed at 8 o'clock instead of at 9 o'clock. So I had to go to Plan B. I wound up getting a ham and cheese crepe, which was very good. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't the pastrami and matzo ball soup that I had my heart set on with this offer of a visit to Cats. So I'll have to save that for the next time I'm in New York City. I did have some coffee and some popcorn during the movie, and it was fine. The staff there at the downtown Brooklyn Alamo, very friendly, very efficient. And then there's the movie itself. Well, there was the movie screening. The screening featured a live introduction by Rebecca Pale, who is a writer for the website Box Office Pro. It was a very good introduction, and she talked about how this movie, Constantine, it's been underrated for so long and that it's good that it's getting a reassessment. She talked about some of the performances. She talked about some of the minor performances that really lend richness to this movie. Talked about some of the interesting costuming choices that were made. All in all, it was a really good setup for the movie. I enjoy those kind of live introductions. I'd like to see them more at the Alamo. They turned the screening into more of a community event than just, here's an old movie, I hope you like it. We did get a pre-roll. I don't know if it was custom for this movie or it is just something that they pull out for lots of movies that involve demons and devils and heaven and hell. because it was lots of old cartoon and movie clips and something from Hellzapoppin'. It was all stuff about demons and devils and hell, all of them with a weird comedy or song and dance kind of aspect to it. Kind of surreal, not exactly the tone of Constantine, but it was still fun. It was still the right kind of pre-show for this movie. Now, let's talk about the movie Constantine itself. Constantine is one of those movies that I didn't admit to liking it very much when I first saw it, and I've seen it a couple of times since then. First off, let's get this out of the way. As an adaptation of the DC comics, especially the DC Vertigo comics, featuring the character of John Constantine as created by Alan Moore, it's a terrible movie. It's a terrible adaptation. It gets nothing, it gets next to nothing right about the character of John Constantine. But Constantine, the American Hollywood movie from 2005, starring Keanu Reeves, taken on its own, for its own merits as a movie, it's a pretty good movie. It's moody. John Constantine is an SOB who nevertheless, he means well, and he has a bad attitude about doing the right things, and therefore we're rooting for him, and we want to know more about him and spend that additional time with him. Rachel Weisz as kind of the audience surrogate who's learning about this world along with us. Very strong performance. Lots of really good supporting players, including Tilda Swinton as the angel Gabriel, and Shia LaBeouf in a pretty good turn as Chaz Kramer, Constantine's assistant/apprentice. Jaimin Hansu as Papa Midnight. Lots of really good actors in pivotal, if small, roles. Now, the story of Constantine is that John Constantine is someone with vast knowledge and special abilities that allow him to confront the demonic world. So he is a freelance exorcist, and he'll investigate demonic incursions. And the setting, the world in which this all takes place, is one in which there is a fragile but relatively stable balance of power between heaven and hell. They've agreed not to wage their eternal conflict directly on the earth. They will influence events by influencing people, but they won't resort to all-out conflict. And the story in the movie is that somebody is breaking that agreement. And Constantine has to find out who and why and what's going on. I've talked before about liking supernatural horror movies. This is kind of a horror movie, but it's also a detective movie in many ways. And I also like movies that have to do with a secret world in our midst that we're unaware of. This movie is super strong with all of that. So it has everything I should like. And the more I see it, the more I think about it, the more I like it. But here's something else about Constantine that I want to try on for you. Constantine is a James Bond movie. John Constantine is the James Bond character, someone with special knowledge and training and a dedication to a certain cause. He's hard smoking, hard drinking. He's kind of a son of a bitch, but he is on the right side and he's competent at helping that side win. You've got a Cold War kind of world in which there's this détente between superpowers, in this case, heaven and hell. And part of keeping the peace is keeping either side from breaking that détente. You've got, well, you don't have international travel, but instead you've got some trips back and forth between Earth and hell. It's very much the structure of a James Bond movie in terms of the plot elements I just talked about, in terms of its reliance upon style, the way it handles some of its action set pieces, the way our character has to move through so many different parts of society, the dregs of the supernatural underworld, and the next thing you know, he's having a meeting with an angel. It feels like a James Bond movie in many ways. So If you watch Constantine, or if you watch it again, try to think about it in those terms. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm right or if you think this is a crazy idea. And if you liked this review, please consider clicking like. If you want more Drafthouse Diaries, click subscribe. But most important, just thank you very much for joining me. I'll be back soon with more. And in the meantime, enjoy your movies. And when you do, stay till the end of the credits.